Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Lord Josh here. I've recently commissioned a new robe. It's actually a robe that Zhuge Liang wears in Three Kingdoms 1994. It's a red color, very nice, beautiful garment. I can't wait to show it to you. It's going to match my red Guanjin hat that you've all seen before. Robes are a massive part of my spiritual and occult practice, and they mean a lot to me. In today's video, I want to analyze and provide commentary on Zhuge Liang's famous quotes. If you're just looking for the quotes without any commentary, I've already covered that. I've already made that video. You can find that on my channel. The purpose of this video is for me to share my thoughts and perspectives on each of Kongming's quotes to see if we can extract the wisdom from them and examine them to see what lessons they might hold. So let's jump in and take a closer look. Please remember, this is all just my own opinion. You are welcome to disagree. First up, in no particular order, I want to start with this quote. Detach from emotions and desires. Get rid of any fixations. I love this one. In today's world, most people are caught up with base level desires. They become fixated with money, jobs, things that are largely superficial. People become obsessed to the point where it becomes unhealthy, and this creates a lack of harmony and balance. When Kongming says detach from emotions, I don't believe he is saying that people should become robots and have no feeling towards other things. What I believe he is saying is that people should learn how to master their emotions and their feelings, to have the skill to be able to detach if necessary, because if you have an obsessive personality, in some ways it may help you in the short term, but actually in the long term, it can cause great heartache and trouble, and it can cause you to make some very unhelpful decisions. When you make a choice, when you make a decision from a place of emotion, in the beginning you feel, yes, this is what I should be doing. This feels right. This feels justified. But actually, once that decision has been made and you live with it for a while, naturally over the passage of time, you realize you acted from a place of clouded judgment, and this creates regret in the mind. You regret what you have done because you acted rashly without being able to temporarily distance yourself from your thoughts. One of the things you learn when you become a Taoist is to have the skill of observing your thoughts before you act on them. So you can detach from your feelings, your emotions, look at them from a different perspective, and decide if they are beneficial or destructive. Getting rid of any fixations is also a good thing, because if you become too fixated on something, this can create tunnel vision, not being able to see the bigger picture, the grand vision. And obviously Kongming was a strategist who had the job, the duty of being able to use foresight and wisdom in order to accomplish his plans. When you're fixated on something, you can only see that and nothing else. I call it A to B thinking. You only think of getting from point A to point B, but you fail to acknowledge the whole alphabet, and that is why a more broad-minded approach is needed for success. Emotions cloud judgment. Making a decision out of anger, let's say, never usually ends well. Look at Liu Bei, for example. When he made the decision to attack Wu to avenge Guan Yu, it didn't result in a good outcome for Xu Han, and Liu Bei suffered a great loss due to his choice to attack. And to be clear, I love Liu Bei. I'm a massive Xu Han supporter, but he made a mistake there, I think. I think the wisdom in this quote is always think things through with your head, not just your heart. Another great quote here. First organize the inner, then organize the outer. First organize the great, then organize the small. First organize yourself, then organize others. So you have to keep in mind with this one, when you are a general, when you are a leader of men, you have so many different things to organize and manage. Before you start to work on the external, you must work first on the internal, which means this starts with you, with who you are, not the outside world, not the troops or the battles on the outside, but the war on the inside that you are fighting. You cannot win any battles if you haven't first conquered yourself, which means you must know yourself first before you step into combat. Take care of the bigger issues first, and the smaller things will fall into place, usually naturally on their own. This is largely how Taoist alchemy works. When you are practicing Taoist spirituality, you are taught, as within, so without, that the two worlds of inner and outer tend to mirror one another. And if you've mastered the internal, mastery of what's outside will soon follow. Never attempt to involve yourself in the affairs of others before you have taken a good look at who you are inside, because you are destined for failure if you haven't taken the time to organize the great. And the great always starts from within, at least I think so. Okay, so here is probably the most famous of Zhuge Liang's quotes, and I think out of all of them, this one is my favorite. I just love it. It goes like this: "Those who are skilled in combat do not become angered. Those who are skilled at winning do not become afraid. For us, the wise win before they fight, while the ignorant fight to win." I love that one. I think if I remember correctly, that was the first quote I ever heard or read from Kongming, and it's just stayed with me for years and years. So there's a lot to unpack here with this one. Those who are skilled in combat do not become angered. I think this refers again back to the emotions that I've previously discussed. It is always better if you don't come into a battle with emotional baggage, and you should never, ever, ever fight a battle out of anger. If you do that, you are certainly destined to fail. No good comes from emotional wars. Those who are skilled at winning do not become afraid. This to me means that when you are a military person, you have to be able to accept that one day you may have to kill somebody. That's part of the duty. If you have made peace with that and you are skilled in that art, there is no reason why you should be afraid. If you are proficient in that line of work, if you have mastered that craft, you should be able to see it through. And let me be clear, because I know some people are going to take this the wrong way. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. Personally, I don't like war. I'm fascinated by it, hence my many videos on Kongming's various battles, but I do not like war in that sense. When Kongming says the wise win before they fight, this is very similar to "every battle is won before it is ever fought" by Sun Tzu, but I personally like Kongming's quote better. While the ignorant fight to win is beautiful and poetic to me, this obviously refers to warfare, but think of all the fools who live in the rat race, all the people who are scratching and clawing to try and make their way to the top of the corporate world. And let's not forget, ancient Chinese warfare was used back in the 80s on Wall Street. The yuppies of that time loved these kinds of quotes, so people in the modern day can certainly use them. This one is a bit more cryptic, I feel. I do love it. "Opportunistic relationships can hardly be kept constant. The acquaintance of honorable people, even at a distance, does not add flowers in times of warmth, and does not change its leaves in times of cold. It continues unfading through the 4 seasons, becoming increasingly stable as it passes through ease and danger." I believe when Kongming is talking about opportunistic relationships, he is referring to alliances, but they cannot always be kept. When he says honorable people, I think he is talking about truly good people who are not opportunistic. So through the good and the bad times, through the rough and the smooth, these relationships are maintained because they are true, sincere, and honest. They are made with people that have integrity and honor, and therefore as they pass through ease and danger, this only solidifies the relationship and bond they have. I think the prime example here is Liu Bei and his sworn brothers, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. I think they had an incredibly close bond that only got stronger as time went on. I think the same could be applied with Kongming and Liu Bei, which brings me on to the next quote, another great one. "Nothing is harder to see into than people's nature. The sage looks at subtle phenomena and listens to small voices. This harmonizes the outside with the inside and the inside with the outside." When Kongming talks about people's nature, he is referring to their real character, not the facade that they like to portray. And it's also interesting that he uses the word sage. This word comes up a lot in Taoist occultism. And talking about Taoism, we once again get a quote that mentions the internal and the external. Another quote on balance. When he says the sage looks at subtle phenomena, I believe he is talking about the subtle ways that people can expose their true character, their true demeanor underneath the mask. A lot of narcissists have a very attractive outer shell, but if you pay close attention to the little details, you will see who they really are underneath the mask. I've met a handful of these people myself in the past. When he says small voices, this, I believe, is referring to people who are not necessarily of high social class. So paying attention to regular people who may be able to help you understand someone's true nature. Or this could mean subtle voices, as in subtle signs that a person may not be who you think they are. There's a few different ways this one can go, I think. Here is a brilliant one. An enlightened ruler does not worry about people not knowing him. He worries about not knowing people. So right now in the modern world, there is a huge disconnect with politicians and the general population. A lot of regular people cannot relate to leaders and elected officials because there's a detachment from everyday life. So the wise leader does not care about rank, money, fame, and status. He should instead care about knowing the ins and outs of the people he is serving. I think a lot of leaders today should study the ways of Kongming, because even though his teachings are centuries old, they are still relevant to this very day. Next quote: "To overcome the intelligent by folly is contrary to the natural order of things. To overcome the foolish by intelligence is in accord with the natural order. To overcome the intelligent by intelligence, however, is a matter of opportunity." So, throughout history, wars are fought, constantly back and forth. Within war, there is a natural order to how things work. A foolish commander overcoming an intelligent and wise commander, in theory, sounds impossible, but when the roles are reversed, naturally victory is achieved. However, when you get two talented commanders, for example, Kongming's nemesis, Sima Yi, this is when things get a lot more serious, and the only way for one of the commanders to win is by opportunity, because both are extremely good at what they do. Next quote: "Good generals select intelligent officers, thoughtful advisors, and brave subordinates. They oversee their troops like a fierce tiger with wings." The first part I think is rather self-explanatory, selecting good people to succeed, but I love how Kongming talks about overseeing his troops like a fierce tiger with wings. A lot of the time when an army fails, when a commander is defeated, it is usually down to how they manage their own forces. There is a danger that soft laws and rules that are too relaxed can eventually cause problems with the morale of the army. A good commander knows there is a fine line between firm but fair laws and basically being tyrannical. So just like a fierce tiger, your own men must respect you. If they do, victory is more likely to happen. Okay, so the final quote for today's video. These are obviously not all of Kongming's quotes, but I've picked out the ones that I think are the most interesting to me. "What loss is there in dignity? What worry is there of failure?" So principles and virtues are very near and dear to Kongming's heart. Whenever you read any of his literature, you will usually come across him mentioning dignity in some way. Nobleness and honor are paramount in his thinking. I think this quote means that nobody can lose if they have dignity in their hearts. Why worry about failure when you have stateliness? Even if you lose a battle, as long as you have reverence, it won't be a true failure. I'm going to leave it there for now. I may do another video in the future on other quotes from Zhuge Liang. I've really enjoyed doing this actually. So thank you for watching. I'll be back soon with more videos. Take care.